Welcome to War of the Weirds, a war between friends where the stranger the discovery, the greater chance of victory. And a great victory has been achieved, as Broomy has won a series of battles leading him to success. Now he reaps the reward, the spoils of war, and challenges Mystic to consume a music album as influential as it is abrasive. It is known as Trout Mask Replica.
Hello and welcome. Sorry, I'm really close to the microphone. To War of the Weirds. I'm Broomy.
And I'm Mystic.
And usually we're telling one another the strangest stories we can find on the internet, and you folks at home are voting on which one was stranger, and it leads to episodes like this, The Spoils of War, in which I have assigned Mystic because I had won several episodes, and I've assigned Mystic an extremely strange and abrasive album. Or it doesn't have to be an album, it could be just any piece of media, but in this case, album. It's called Trout Mask Replica by Captain Beefheart and his magic band. Now, so Mystic, how'd you like it?
Oh, I didn't. No, it was unlike anything I had ever heard before, and hopefully unlike anything I'll ever hear again.
You're usually like more of a Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I'm a Swiftie, you know. No, I like lots of different types of music, but I do like music that has like a typical musical standard, like a composition.
Just to describe vaguely the album before we get into more of your thoughts. Basically, it's like, I described it horribly, by the way, but I was just going off the cuff initially when I told you about it. I said psychedelic rock, but it's not. But it's not like Pink Floyd. Yeah. Also, it's kind of just not psychedelic rock at all.
Yeah, I only classified as like one song as like psychedelic.
I think I was just thinking that because they're a band that was surrounded by psychedelic rock, including Frank Zappa.
And then also, like, if you listen to it, your first thought is like, someone was tripping and wrote this.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
So I think it's still fair to perceive it as psychedelic rock.
But it's like a very experimental art rock album. Yeah. Very experimental, in which there are several just spoken word tracks. There are there's a lot of basically different people are going at different speeds on the same song. Yeah. And different keys on the same song. Yep. All of that kind of stuff. And also Captain Beefheart's voice is pretty crazy. Yes. So all that combined, it's really fucking abrasive. But it's one of, like, it's the, like, as far as music snobs go, everybody's like, this is one of the greatest albums of all time.
Oh yeah, like a bunch of famous like musicians cite this as like an inspiration for them, and
yeah, absolutely. And it's not, I'm a music snob as well, but I don't find this to be one of the greatest albums of all time, but it is actually one of the more influential albums out there.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, let's go into more what you thought of it.
Yeah, so I know, like, we decided this doesn't have to be like a book report type thing, but I did go through and voluntarily I wrote all the songs out, like the songs, and then like as I listened to it, I went through and like wrote my thoughts about each song.
Oh, I like that.
So I have, I typed up, it turned out to be like 6 pages.
Oh my God.
Of notes. Because there are 28 songs, or 28 tracks. I won't call them songs, that's generous.
I mean, there are a few tracks that literally aren't, they're just spoken word pieces.
They're just, yeah. So I was just going to go through, say the name of the song, and then share my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
And then
I'll
kind of like at
be
the
in
end
this as well.
yeah, of course. And I have like a few quotes from the songs. And
I
then,
pulled a couple as well after, like, while I was listening. Right before this recording this, I listened to the album again.
Yeah. I don't know
I've
why you'd
listened to
subject
this
yourself to
album,
that,
by the way,
but
probably in my life, probably a total of 6 times.
wow. Like all the way through, or just like total?
All the way through.
Oh yeah.
The album all the way through, you mean?
Yeah. It's it is interesting. Like I definitely at first it was very like jarring to me. But I could see like having some fond associations with it and coming back to it at a later date. There are two things I pulled out from like behind the lyrics that I'm gonna share, and then also like at the end I have a couple thoughts, like a little summary.
All right, but overall, like real quick, overall, you didn't enjoy it because, of course, but what else? Like general impressions. So
overall, I didn't enjoy it at first.
Okay.
There were a couple where I was like, all right, I really like it. I do actually like this song. There's one, and then like finding out more about the album, I started to appreciate it more when I realized like how intentional it was.
Oh yeah.
Because basically all of the whole album sounds like it's just like improvised.
Yeah.
But it is very specifically composed. And I was actually reading some YouTube comments. So I watched a video about like
never
about
a good idea.
Yeah. I watched a video about the album and then read some of the comments in there. And one person said like I remember I got this album when it came out. I listened to it a bunch and was very familiar with it. And when they came to town, and he said the location, the venue, I saw them live and they played it note for note. Which sounds, if you've heard the album, but if you've heard the album at all, if you've even heard one song, it sounds impossible.
Here's my impression of a song, like not a specific song, just the whole album as a whole.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. Everything's dead in my shoes.
That's spot on. But like a dozen instruments, all playing different things in different keys at different times.
Well, it's not like a dozen. It's more like a traditional rock like group of instruments, and then they're all doing all those things though.
Right, like you have your guitars, your drum, your bassist, vocals, some backup vocals, and then sometimes some like some brass instruments, or you have like there's a saxophone solo in one of them. So like there is some brass involved, and that was the work. Like if you'd taken the brass out of the music, I think I would have it would have been more like aesthetically pleasing to my ear.
Sure.
Obviously they didn't do that for a reason, but all right. And then real quick, so I read the lyrics as I went through the songs, using genius.com. And they have, that's where I also got some of like the behind the lyrics information.
That's kind of the place to get lyrics these days.
Yeah. It used to be like Metro Lyrics or whatever, but now Genius.
I mean, there were like a million of them.
Oh yeah. That's the one I used to use. But then, because like on my phone, it would pull up ads if I did anything else.
Oh yeah.
But Genius.com also has like, here's what the backstory of this is. And Spotify does that if you like, it has like behind the music, but this was not on Spotify for some reason.
Looking into it, it seems like it was basically all of his other albums, Captain Beefheart's other albums,
his like
are on
60
one label.
albums.
Yeah, he has a ton of albums. Are on one label, but this album is on Frank Zappa's label, and for whatever reason, they don't want it on Spotify.
Yeah. So what I was going to say was one of the top contributors to the album, the lyrics and the information behind the lyrics. Like it has like their usernames that contributed to the content. Sure. One of them was named Emperor Norton. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
That is my topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. That's going to come out. They'll come out, I guess, the week before this one comes out, right? If this,
yeah.
So, because this will be in between releases, so
yeah.
So that's very wild to me. But that's cool. So track number 1 was Frownland, and it sounds like a bunch of random instruments, each playing their own riffs. Like it's not total chaos, because you listen to each instrument individually, you can tell that they're playing something good. Like there is something going on. But if you listen to it like with all the other instruments involved, it's just it's a cacophony. Like, and I literally wrote in my notes, there's no way they could perform this live because he's just singing in a random tune over a mix of instruments doing their own thing.
Yeah, and also, but that is a good introduction to the album because that's what the album is.
Oh yeah, it gives you like, this is what it's going to be about. In the video, it said that this song Frownland had 21 different musical motifs in it, whereas like most songs have like just like 1 or 2 or 3 that like, and then like maybe a bridge.
What is the example of what a musical motif is?
So like the example that the video gave was the Kinks. What's that song? What's the song?
Lola? What?
No.
Louie?
No, it wasn't the Kinks. It was oh my goodness, hold on.
The Beatles?
No. We're gonna have to like pause this one, but then go to my history. Maybe, who sings Are You Gonna Be My Girl?
Oh, that's Jet.
That's not who I'm thinking of then. Hold on.
Yeah, that was like early 2000s.
Oh, You Really Got Me. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yes. Yeah, that's the Kinks.
Yeah.
Girl, you really got
because
me
the guitar is da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na.
Yeah,
and,
that's
like, that's played like throughout the whole song. Like it's one motif that's iconic. Or like Deep Purple, Smoke on the Water. Ba, 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 na. Like,
so it's like a riff.
It's like a riff. Like something that it like comes back to.
And you're saying this has
like the overture of
something?
Musicals. Yeah, this has 21.
Like
like
it's
an
like
overture
a
of musicals
song or something.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Very short, so it's like almost, it's just long enough for it to be considered a motif. Like they play it like intentionally just as many times for you to know that it's not all improvised random notes. And then go to something else. But like like overtures or like in musicals and stuff, like they sample like a little bit of every song, you know. Those are like different motifs that are So then second song, The Dust Blows Forward and the Dust Blows Back. This one is also very weird because he just sang as he talked and he said random stuff, and that's just like how the song was. That was the whole song. Like it was like a monologue with no music.
Yeah.
It's just spoken word.
Spoken word, yeah.
Yeah, except for like
the dust goes forward and the dust moves back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With like there was like a click or percussion or something at the end of each phrase. Like it might have just been like a recording thing.
Yeah.
But and he must have done this in like one take. It was my first thought. Like I've reconsidered my opinion, but these were my raw thoughts at the time.
Yeah, no.
He must have done this at one take because he stuttered a few times. He like messed up the lyrics or jumbled them and like started over, and like that was the one that they chose. Like they're like, nope, this is the one we're gonna go with. We're keeping this.
Yeah, I noticed that the sort of stumbling over words occasionally, and I thought it was funny that they kept on the album, and then just like masterpiece.
It's fantastic.
It's funny,
that
it's so like a lot of people probably have never heard of this album. It is so well regarded in the music community.
Yeah.
It's insane. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's not worthy of praise.
Yeah, it was inducted into the or was recorded in the Library National Congress Library or whatever.
It's
like it's
but he's just like He's doing a spoken word piece, and he messes up.
And messes up and keeps it.
Kept it on this
That's on the final
perfect
cut.
album for some people.
Yeah. So that's that one. Third track, Dachau Blues.
Yeah.
I like this one. It
Me
started
too.
out it started out pretty bluesy, and then by the end it sort of like devolved. But I think that was kind of the point, because the song seemed to be about like past world wars, and then it was a call for people to get their ish together so that we don't have a World War III. And
Thanks
so I
for
think
censoring yourself.
yeah, of course, you know. And so like I think the music sort of falling apart ominously intended to symbolize the direction our world is heading.
Yeah.
Like with a third world war. It kind of like, my first thought of it was like, Where Have All the Flowers Gone? That old folk song. Have you familiar with that one?
The name sounds familiar, but it's not like actually ringing a bell.
So it's like this very beautiful sound, like kind of not jaunty, but like this like very mellow and like uplifting tune. But the words are like, where have all the flowers gone? Oh, young girls pick them. Where have all the young girls gone? Gone to young men. Where have all the young men gone? Gone to soldiers. Where have all the soldiers gone? Gone to graveyards. Where have all the graveyards gone? Gone to flowers. Where have all the flowers gone? And so it's like, it's just like this like cycle, but it like, it sounds so pretty, but it's like it's about people like going to war and dying. And so that's how like I think the devolution of the music or instrumentation of this was like supposed to be that like representative.
I thought you were going to say, but this sounds crazy and abrasive and terrible. So
it becomes more abrasive, but I think it was like the point. Yeah. I mean,
it doesn't sound terrible. It does, but it doesn't.
Yeah,
but
it's listenable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ella Guru. All right. True facts. My first impression of this was that it was a little racist. Mm-hmm. Because, and like, this is educational. I'm not trying to be offensive by saying these terms that this term I'm gonna use. It is an offensive term. But he repeats the phrase "Hi, Ella" a bunch of times, but he's like speaking it, and so it sounds like he's saying "Hi, Yellow," which is a dated and offensive term to describe someone who looks mostly white, but it's still apparent that they have some African ancestry. And so like it's a dated term and like deemed to be offensive now. And I mean, it wasn't great then. I'm not saying it was like good, but yeah. And so but I do understand like back at that time, because even like my dad's generation, like it was like, yeah, it was just like a description. Like whenever people said it, they didn't say it like derogatorily.
Yes.
But like they didn't like mean malice. They didn't like call people that like, hey, you know. It was just like descriptive, but it's dated and offensive now.
Yes.
And so that was like my friend. I was like, is that what he's saying? And then he does like mention a few other colors in there, so I was like, okay, it was intentional. But like, I'm not saying that he was being racist, but he was using that term in his song. That was just like a term that was like circulating at that time. But the song was pretty odd. Yeah. Here I did like I pulled out some lyrics from here. Here's one phrase. You have one person who goes, ha ha ha, right, just dig it. And then he goes, that's right, the mascara snake, fast and bulbous, tight also.
Oh yeah.
Those are lyrics, and that's how he says it.
Fast and bulbous.
Fast and bulbous. Yeah. And then track 5 was Hair Pie, Bake 1. Mm-hmm. I guess that was like a pun, like take one, because there is a bake 2 as well.
Yeah.
This one was I found myself getting lost in this one a little bit, but like, Hair Pie 2 I think is better. This one, it was like a bunch of brass instruments tuning and adjusting their sounds, and they all just like recorded it at this, like they're like, all right, y'all tune up and like figure out your pitches and stuff, and then like they didn't know that that was recording at the same time, because it was just like 5 minutes. It was 5 minutes. It was one of the longer songs on the album. Just like squeaking instruments. It did have a few riffs sprinkled in with like a guitar or something, but like it sounds like it's gonna start to come together, but then it never does, and then it like splits and goes in opposite directions again.
Yeah.
The suggestions of riffs that are present are almost like trance-inducing because they're pretty droning.
Mhm.
But then like the brass is just like, and so it's you can't really get lost in it.
My take on the album, by the way, now that I've heard it this time, this is like the first time that I like actually saw some goodness at all in it.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Like I always acknowledged that there was probably something there,
Right.
And I like Captain Beefheart's other work, so
Right.
you know I don't have anything against his sound of voice or anything, but
Yeah.
basically if I look at it like it's like an art piece rather than an album of music that I want to listen to.
Right.
If you look at it as sort of just like, I know going in, this is like an experience rather than than like music I want to listen to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it like comparing it to art, and which I'm gonna do later in my little final paragraph, but it's like when you look at like I don't know, go to the Louvre and look at some weird like expensive painting. It's not a beautiful picture.
Mm-hmm.
But like there's genius behind it, and so like it's not like aesthetically, you don't look at it and you're like, wow, this is gorgeous, but like you can appreciate the technique or the symbolism or things like that. And I think that's how this music is. Like you're not listening to it and you're like, this is a jam, like it's got a nice hook. No, but you are appreciating
lyrically it's super interesting. That's
what
I picked up on most on this last listen.
Yeah, the lyrics are pretty impressive because there's like, and I even mentioned this, like there's some word association, or like it's pretty witty. And I do like that. Like there are some puns in there, and there's it's pretty cool. But yeah, I like the instrumentation sometimes by itself could be good, and then the words and sometimes vocals could be decent, but then together they were never in sync, and so it was never like a good piece. Number 6 was Moonlight on Vermont, and this one was the most musically coherent song at like up to that point.
I liked it.
I like this one a lot, and judging by the YouTube comments, this was most people's favorite. It sounded like something Deep Purple and Joe Cocker would be able to create together, like the Joe Cocker like soul and vocals, but with like Deep Purple guitar riffs, prominent guitar and pretty good vocals. I like this one. I like this one a lot. The lyrics made no sense, but I'm pretty sure that was intentional also. I mean, like that was telling the story because I think it's about everybody being high. So yeah, and then the end it repeats like "Give me that old time religion." It was like in an ad lib way. Like pretty reminiscent of like a Southern gospel-esque genre, and I like that. Like there's so many different like musical influences or like, you know, that you can detect in this, and that was what I was like, I like this. Like there's some blues here, there's like some gospel elements here, there's some just weird abstract things here. It's definitely certainly like not one genre. It's a 7 was Pachuco Cadaver. I kind of got lost in these two songs. So here's before it starts, there's an introductory sentence that says, "A squid eating dough in a polyethylene bag is fast and bulbous. Got me?"
I love those.
I like that. There's a few times, and like before the song starts, like there's like a conversation, or like you can hear something going on behind the scenes, and like you can even hear it in the final cut. He's like, and he's like, "Say beans," and he's like, "Oh, laser beans." It's like you can hear him giving the direction or like the the line, and they're like, "Yeah, let's keep that." Which those are fun. But the fast and bulbous was a callback to Ella Guru, because there's some stuff in that about being fast and bulbous. Squid, that like sea creatures, is something that comes up later. There's some recurring motifs like that. The music starts and it's a pretty good sound, and as soon as the vocals start, the music changes. Like it slows down and becomes a different song. It's very weird, but I think it's pretty cool because it sounds like it melts into a different song. Like it's not jarring. I thought that was cool. And here's the quote that I pulled from the Genius thing. Pachuco refers to a subculture of Chicanos and Mexican Americans associated with zoot suits, street gangs, nightlife, and flamboyant public behavior. And so the song seemed to be like a little bit about a ballad about this woman who like cruises around the town and all the guys swoon over her and she's a heartbreaker. Sort of reminds me of Main Street by Bob Seger. He's just like fawning over this girl that he sees in town and drives everyone wild. But in true Captain Beefheart fashion, all the metaphors about her don't make sense or they're weird. One of them is her teeth as clean as the combs where the bees go in. Like, what a compliment. Ladies, doesn't that make you swoon? If I'm like, yeah, your teeth are as clean as the combs where the bees go in, can I have your number? I'm pretty sure you'd be like, are you having a stroke right now? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was pretty, I like the metaphors in there were pretty funny. I might test them out. I'll let you know how that goes.
So it's like yellow teeth is what he's saying.
Yeah.
I like it. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty weird. It's like, yeah, but there's like a Shakespeare sonnet or something about that. How like she's not the prettiest, or she's not she doesn't have the fairest face or the most beautiful voice, but I love her anyways. And so there's like, and that's kind of endearing because it's easy to love someone that's lovable. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into this and it's supposed to be nonsense.
I don't think it's supposed to be nonsense.
So that one was called Pachuco Cadaver. And then this one, 8, was called Bill's Corpse. So you have cadaver and corpse. This one, all right, I have, like, this one was very, I was trying to discern a theme from this. Like, I wanted there to be a story. It seemed like it's like about a lady who wants a town. I don't know if it's the same lady that he was just fawning over, because the last song like had the word cadaver in the title and this one has corpse, but the words and metaphors he uses in this one are like twisted hideously and ragged hair, and he talks about kids screaming. All the metaphors are with death and skeletons and things like that, like bones. And I guess it seems like the difference in connotation between cadaver and corpse. Like, cadaver is something that's, like, laid out and there's an intention behind it. Like, you're going to dissect it or you're going to work on it or, like, learn something. Like, it's almost respected, whereas a corpse is just, like, I don't know, sounds like it's strewn about or, like, you just find it or, like, something malicious, you know? And spooky. So I don't know if it's related to the last song, but, like, my interpretation of this, like, what it meant to me. I'm not saying this is what he meant writing it, but to me, I was like, okay, this girl broke his heart. And before he was like using these, he loved her and was using complimentary metaphors, even though they were weird. And now this one, he's like, no, she's horrible. And like, he's seeing her true colors and she's like this scary thing. Yeah. Number 9, Sweet, Sweet Bulbs.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that it changed songs 4 times because the music changed so many times, to like completely different songs. There were some phrases used in previous songs, like walking through flowers. That was something talked about in Pachuco Cadaver, and the bulbs and the phrase bulbous was mentioned before. Fast and bulbous from Ella Guru. And then going back to nature was also like a theme, like a few things mentioned throughout. So I don't really know what he was trying to get at with that. Like, yeah. Some of the, like the general motifs, which I haven't talked about too much, but like there's something like there's the blues that he samples is like pre-40s blues. Yeah. And so it's like this, you think of like a sitting on a front porch and like a hot summer, and there's like an old battered guitar and like a rocking chair, like somewhere deep in the South. And so there's imagery and motifs of that throughout the lyrics. There's also things about like the natural world, and like nature is like something to go back to. But then there's also like weird natural things, like there's some things about like tentacled fish and things like that. And then there's also like a futuristic element with like like machines and like futuristic tools and stuff. Like, so like I'm not sure what point, or if there was a point, what that was, but I get the nature thing from that one.
You know, I find it's both surprising and not surprising at all how deep you went into this.
I love doing this.
Yeah.
It was great. Like even though like it wasn't a beautiful sound, like I enjoyed listening and trying to dissect it and find meaning in it, even if who knows if there's meaning or not.
Yeah.
But yeah. Number 10, Neon Meat Dream of a Octofish.
Yeah, how could you mess that up?
Not an octofish. A octofish.
Yeah. Correct grammar.
Yeah.
I
this is
the Captain Beefheart library.
This is the worst freestyle of all time. It's like word association. It just like there's a lot of alliteration and like it just sounds like grungy and dirty, and not dirty as in like vulgar, but just like dirty as in dingy and like grimy. But it is cool to listen to, and like part of me wants to like memorize this song, like because this would be like if I were kidnapped or something, I would just like spout this off, and they'd be like, "This guy is crazy. I need to we're done. Go back to where you came from."
Give me an example of what this song.
Yeah, I have a couple phrases that I want to point out. Dung dust, incest, meaty dream, wet meat, mucus mules, twat trot. And then the last sentence, the last complete sentence of the song says, "Squirmin' serum and semen and syrup and semen and serum, stirrup and syrup, neon meat, dream of a octofish."
Yeah. So that first thing that you said before you said the last line, that was one part. You weren't like,
oh yeah, no, the dung
words.
Dust was separate, incest was these were all separate things. Yeah, those were not like all lyrics that were together.
I see.
Yeah,
you're just giving examples.
I was pulling out like a few weird words.
Yes, crazy things they talked about in the song.
Yeah. But I will read one section. Ingest, incest, ingest, injust, in feast, incest, and specks, and speckled, and spreckled, speck-led speculation, fedlocks, waddlin' feast, archaic faces, frenzy, ceramic fist, artificial, deceased, insist, rancid buds burst, dank drum, and dung dust. Like, what? I love
don't
it.
know what you don't get there.
Yeah, this is great.
Talking about going to the store and they won't let them buy anything. It's a metaphor for capitalism? Idiot!
The chains of capitalism. Yeah. Whalebone fields and belts, whalebone farmhouse, cavorts girdled and letters alight. What? Yeah. I want to memorize this whole thing. Yeah, it makes no sense. But it's all it's like spoken word. Like you imagine, yeah. 11 was China Pig, and this was I really like this one a lot. Like I thought this one sounded the most like a normal song. It was very much, I thought of like Robert Johnson blues, just like just where you like repeat like the same musical phrase. Yeah, da-na-na-na-na. Like it's just
China Pig.
Da-na-na-na. Yeah, it's just like that whole thing. The whole it was I think it was about lamenting having to crack open a piggy bank. I don't know if he was sad. So my first you would think that it would be sad that he's like having to use that money, like he's like struggling for cash or something like that, or like he's like financially strapped or something. No, I'm pretty sure he's just sad about like having to cause damage to the piggy bank. Like he loved the ceramic pig. Yeah. And he was just like sad about that. Like had nothing to do with like the reason for it. But it was pretty good. 12 was My Human Gets Me Blues, which is that's like a good play on words.
Yeah.
I like that. It's more randomness.
It's more random bullshit. See every other song. But I went into, this was the second and final song in which I went into like behind the lyrics, and there are two phrases that I want to point out. So
this is a quote. Beefheart is apparently referring to John Drumbo French, who is the drummer. His tap dancing. Drumbo had acquired this skill prior to joining Beefheart's magic band, per French's memoir Beefheart, Through the Eyes of Magic. After Drumbo recorded his drum tracks for Trout Mask Replica, actually as a live performance at MCA Whitney Studios, Beefheart threw Drumbo out of the window and was thus out of the group temporarily for the remaining month of 1969, partly because Drumbo didn't play a quote-unquote strawberry in his drum kit. It is possible that Beefheart wrote the lyrics to express him being pissed at Drumbo.
Yeah.
So that's sort of like the chaos of this of Captain Beefheart, and like there were some people said that he like ruled the band dictatorially and was like very authoritarian and like you has to be this way and like. But I mean, he did have an image for how this wanted to go, and I can see if you're like a musician and you're learning this music, it's easy to think you're just fooling around and you can like do whatever. But he was like, no, it has to be this way.
Oh, did you read the Wikipedia on this, by the way?
I did.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I mean, when I don't know if you were going to bring this up, but they lived communally in a small rented house in Woodland Hills for eight months, and he would like basically he would be dictatorial.
Yeah,
it wasn't a perception.
Oh, okay.
At various times, one of the band members were put, quote unquote, in the barrel, with Van Vley berating them continually, sometimes for days, until the musician collapsed in tears or in total submission.
Yeah. All right. I did not know that part.
No, this is. Oh, let me continue.
Okay.
According to John French and Bill Harkleroad.
Yeah, I'm going to read this memoir.
Yeah, they were in the Magic Band. These sessions often included physical violence. French described the situation as cult-like. The environment in that house was positively Manson-esque. Basically, also, they had no income and barely any food the whole time for 8 months. And they literally shoplifted food and were arrested.
Oh, jeez.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
That's that.
So yeah, and like also, like when I was hard to believe when I read like throw him out a window, but now, yeah, I can see that now. Yeah. And then the second part of the song that I pulled out was there's the phrase I don't know if did I read the lyrics that were associated there. Because the lyrics there that about the tapping was the way you were dancing, I knew you'd never come back. So that was the tap dancing. And then the other phrase was but it's all right, God dug your dance and would have you young and in his harem, dress you the way he wants, 'cause he never had a doll, 'cause everybody made him a boy and God didn't think to ask his preference. So do you have something there?
No, I was just like, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Like, is that like a pro-trans like statement?
That's so there's two different interpretations here, and I think they're both interesting. So one interpretation, this is one contributor said, my interpretation of this abstract verse, blah 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 blah, is that he is suffering from a gender identity crisis. He was never allowed to have a doll as a youth, as his parents would have no interest in buying him a girl toy. Suffering from dysphoria, he would have been forced to accept gendered toys and gendered clothes from a very early age. Everybody made him a boy is very accurate and cohesive understanding of what it's like to be transgender. The out-of-date and often offensive idea that a trans woman is a girl born in a boy's body is inaccurate for experiences of most transgender people, who would describe their experience as being born a girl but have everyone tell you that you're a boy because you have a penis. And then and unfairly his preference was not asked for by God. And so it's like God never asked his preference and made him a boy when he wanted to be a girl. That's one interpretation.
Sure.
The other one is that so he's saying, dress you the way he wants because he never had a doll because everybody made him a boy. Someone suggested that it's actually talking about God. He's saying God dug your dance and God dresses you the way that he wants because he never had a doll because everybody made him a boy. That humanity chose to represent God as male, and he was never allowed to God was never able to experience being female, which produced the need for him to have young women to dress up and treat as dolls, like he was playing with dolls.
That is super interesting as well.
Yeah, so I was like, that's real deep and bizarre. Yeah. So yeah, who knows? Maybe a little bit of both. Yeah. 13 was Dolly's Car. This was a psychedelic sounding guitar prominent song. It sounded like something that the Beatles would throw in between verses of a song. That's a really jarring phrase, and then it goes back to the song.
Sure.
Yeah. I want you so bad, she's so heavy. But the whole song was that. Weird middle part. Yeah. And then after that was Hair Pie Bake 2. I would rate this one as 3.5 out of 10 in terms of listenability. I
find it funny. You haven't mentioned a rating for this whole, any of the other songs. We're 80 songs in, and now you're this one is a 3.5. So specific.
Yeah, but because I couldn't decide if I liked it or not, and I was I don't think it's easily listenable. And I think the reason it's so weird is because you got to be half out of it in order to enjoy it. I don't know how to do that. You can't completely passively listen or actively listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's almost there for either one of those things. But this one was, it seemed the most consistent. It wasn't a ton of changes to me, but it just seemed like a jam session that was pretty, yeah. 15 was I don't remember how you pronounce this. Pena? It's
Maybe Pina?
It's Pina. It sounds like Pena is Spanish for penis, and I'm going to get to that in a second because I thought that's what the song was about. But this one starts with sound bites of a weird mashup of conversation, but the sentences are complete nonsense. Like Pink Floyd does that. They just have nonsensical or have bits of conversation they cut together.
Yeah.
For example, one person said fast and bulbous, another says that's right, mascara snake, fast and bulbous, also a 10 teardrop, which is a callback to one of the earlier songs, which was Ella Guru, fast and one of them would say fast and bulbous, and the other one go, that's right, fast and bulbous, slightly different, but it was they did that 20
I love
times.
The fast and bulbous stuff. Big fan. That's the best part of the album for me.
Yeah, he does that a bunch in this song. When the body of the song, because I call it a body because I can't call it a verse because there's not verses and choruses for most of the album. There's no structure.
Yeah, this is
just
more like an email.
One prose, yeah.
The subject, Pina, the body.
All this stuff. There's no hooks that you're going to be singing. There's nothing repeated that you're you find yourself humming later when you go about your day. But if you look at the lyrics before the main body of the songs, in brackets, it says unintelligible screaming throughout. Because the whole time the guy's singing, you have somebody in the background going ah, 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 So, this sounds, this was the vocalist's sound between angsty punk rock screamo band, not the deep voice, oh, da, 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 but the whiny white teenage boy, that kind, that
Tom DeLonge.
yeah, exactly. That mixed with the angry Sonic kid, the kid who's like ranting for 10 minutes on the YouTube video about Sonic and his like prepubescent voice, and he keeps like cracking and it's so shrill.
Wait, Sonic the Hedgehog?
Yeah, he's like ranting.
I gotta watch this. I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's great. But there's like a couple. It was a pretty popular Vine where he's like, "When will you learn that your actions have consequences?" And like that's pretty. Like that could have been a lyric in this song, and like you could have clipped that in there, and you wouldn't have known it was a different voice. But it was pretty interesting, and it was very silly, and I really enjoyed it. It sounded way different because he has like a deep kind of gravelly-ish voice. Like he sounds like drunken almost, like he doesn't fully close his mouth and enunciate words. Yeah. But this one was like way different, and I liked it a little bit. Here's my impression of the song. And view her from 1,000 happen faucets. Liquid red salt ran over crystals. Like those are lyrics, and that's what the song sounds like.
Sure.
This is also. Yeah. By
the way, if I'm not commenting a ton, it's because like I didn't like pay attention to what happened when during the album.
Oh yeah, no.
So I don't know the individual tracks that well.
No, but, yeah. You have a better understanding of the album as a whole concept, and I'm just like picking apart little things that like just that spoke to me or that like were notable to me. Yeah. Because I was the one that had to. You
experienced it for the first time.
Yeah, this is a first time impression of all this. Like I didn't like the genius things. Like some of those, I just like pulled up at like they were just there as I was reading it, but I didn't like Google what is this song about. Like I just looked at the lyrics and was like, maybe it's this. This is what I hear here. I don't know.
Yeah.
So this is not like an analysis of what this music actually is. It's just like my impression or interpretation.
Yeah.
Also you have like the screaming throughout the whole song. And I thought this song was about sex and a penis. I can't be sure because like I said, like pena is almost pene, like Pene, which is Spanish for penis. And
also so Michael Pena, a famous actor.
Didn't know that.
Could be him.
Could be about
he's
him.
Not that famous, but he's famous enough.
He's not famous enough for me to know him. Yet. Get good, Michael Pena. We should tweet him.
Yeah, By the way, I've been doing subtle jabs at Michael Pena throughout every episode of the podcast. I don't know if you haven't noticed yet, but
there's a vendetta. He was snubbed. Broomy went for an autograph and he was snubbed, and then now it's just like has a vendetta against Michael Pena.
Now you're snubbed, bub. That's what I say to Michael Pena.
Yeah. Which, speaking of snubbed, because I think like in this song it says something about like stick her fingers in a snout or something. Yeah, it's real weird. But so maybe it's just because like that word association was on my mind that I was interpreting so many euphemisms and innuendos. But it did have like a lot of like imagery that could be like if you said it with like tone, it's totally sexy or sexual.
Put your fingers in a snout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's I don't know if that's really what it was, but that's what I heard. Then number 16 was well. No music,
instrumentation.
No instrumentation. Like it's just like imperialistic sounding march music. Like it's like a driving. It's not like a tune. With like a melody, I guess. Is what
There's a little bit of a melody.
It's well, maybe like if I listened to it more.
There's a singing bound well.
Yeah, he's just talking
notes.
Yeah, he's just dragging out the last word as he goes down in pitch. But it reminded me of. Have you heard John Mulaney's stand up about church hymns? He's like, "What's going on at church? Like, you got hymns, like some guy who up there, he's not a singer, gets up there and sings, and he's not good." And he just sings, it's like words like, the bread of God is bread. And that's like exactly what this sounded like. And that's how he sang it. I bet he'd be like kicking himself now and be like, I should have put the bread of God as bread in my song.
Yeah.
17, when Big Jones sets up.
I like this one.
I didn't like this one. it sounded like a song for the first verse, and then as soon as the first verse is over, there's like a saxophone improv that's horrible. It's just like squeaking.
Oh yeah.
Or like
No,
it's,
absolutely.
it's so bad. I don't even
This
know.
whole song is basically just like, hey, you're fat, you're afraid to go out.
Yeah,
Whatever. Also, you're naked.
You're naked, and your hands are too small. He
and
says
your
that
hands
in
are
every
really
verse.
shockingly small.
Shockingly small. He says
But
that he's
you talk about it too much, basically.
Yeah. He's like, geez, your hands are small, but you talk about it a lot. So,
but I'll be with you if you want. That's like the whole song.
Yeah.
But I think that is such a straight. It's funny to me.
It is
like,
funny.
The song is funny.
It was one of the more coherent songs. Like it seemed to all be about the same thing or same. It wasn't just like random gibberish. So I get it was more of a song than the other songs. But yeah, every verse mentions how her hands are too small and people make fun of her.
Yeah.
The first verse says, "When Big Joan comes out, her arms are too small, her head's like a ball. She's tied off her horse and galloped off into the moonbeams. She pulled up her blouse and compared her navel to the moon. I'd dig my life for a while." What? Moonbeams are something else that's like mentioned throughout here. There's like a spacey, like futuristic technology kind of feeling or vibe. And then the very end, he's like, maybe she's a dude. Like that's like the very last line is like, yeah.
It's like, fuck it. Maybe
I don't know. Yeah.
I wasn't paying attention. I saw her naked, but I still don't know.
Yeah. So that was a pretty weird song. 18, Fallen Ditch. Oh, wait. I meant to point out in oh no, wasn't there yet. Okay. Oh, it's the next one. Okay, Fallen Ditch. I love the instrumentation of this one. Actually, it's very funky. The lyrics and vocals leave something to be desired, but I like the music of this one the most. Like it was pretty enjoyable. It was like 70s disco, and this came out in like what 69.
Yeah.
I like this one a lot.
Disco? I just listened to the album. I don't remember a disco sounding song.
Like if you put the guitar of this one in like a 80s dance like percussion track, it would be a disco song.
Okay.
Yeah. Not like because everything else is like it drag, like the vocals and stuff kind of like drag. Like the vocals don't sound like that. Just the instruments do.
Yeah.
The vocals are the same.
Yeah, because for a second it kind of sounded like you were like, well, all of these other songs are as described, but this one is like, ha, ha, ha,
yeah.
ha,
No, they're all.
alive.
It's all. No. But the instrument's good. Yeah. 19 was Sugar and Spikes. And this is random, but it bothered me. The apostrophe indicating that the N, because it's not sugar and spikes, it's sugar and spikes.
Yeah.
The apostrophe on the N, this representative of the word and, is on the right side where the A would be. Mm-hmm. Okay? In track 2, the dust blows forward and the dust blows back. The apostrophe is on the right side where the D would be. And that bothers me because I know he does that on purpose.
Yeah.
Like, that's a small detail that he intentionally, but that's also, like, I don't know which one it's supposed to be, if it's the beginning or second, like, after. And so that's something I would do, is to write
right/wrong anyway, right?
Yeah. So that's something I would do, is to do, like, change, like, have the word both ways in each, like, throughout my composition. To, like, at least one of them's right. Or supposed to be.
This is intentional. I don't just not know how it's supposed to be.
Right. This was a pretty good one. So this one was my favorite on the album.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't hate it or anything. I don't remember it specifically. That's why I'm like, really, because I'm like, Moonlight on Vermont. That's very recognizable to me.
Yeah. Moonlight on Vermont was good, but because it was like just into the album so far, I was like, I don't know. Like that was only the 6th track.
Yeah.
I was
Also,
like, I'm holding out. Like I don't know. Like this is all very overwhelming.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Sugar and Spikes was the best one. It's like if you if the general population is not used to this type of like this genre breaking music, then you could probably listen to this one and it would like most closely resemble music that you would hear on the radio.
Yeah.
The bridge is interesting, and this is what I liked about it too. He sings like there's words and a tune for the bridge, but the whole time he's singing, somebody is yelling "woo" in the background, but it's not random. Like they're screaming just like ah to the same tune as what he's singing.
Mm.
So it's like pitch for pitch, like what he's singing. It's not just like random screaming. So someone had to learn the tune and then just like scream the random, like just, yeah.
Yeah, that's basically this album is that like basically there's like intentional dissonance.
Right.
Throughout the whole album.
Yeah.
And like very intentional, very like measured out. Apparently he composed this on piano, which was an instrument he didn't know, really.
Yes, yep.
Sorry, you were going to get to that.
Oh, no. I mean, that's just one of the things I had written out. But yeah, you're fine to keep going.
Yeah, but he did that, and also basically it's just a very convoluted process, and you know, like I said, he was very dictatorial, and they were practicing for 8 months, and it's crazy. You know, it's very, very intentional.
Yeah. One of the things I read was that he composed it on piano, and French seemed to be the one that had like the most problems with him, the drummer, and he said that like he was responsible for teaching the music to the other musicians.
French was. Yeah.
And so, and he's like Captain Beefheart didn't even know what a time signature was. He didn't know what he was writing or how he was writing it. And so he's like, I think that's like why French seemed to have the most problems with him, because he like probably resented him the most. Because he was like, I don't know, Captain Beefheart is like this like creative process, and then he's like, all right, how am I going to make this functional? Like how, you know, or put like actually implement this
fucking thing on a music. I forget what they're called, clef, whatever.
Yeah. So I get that he's have some problems with him, and he also said that like in one of the interviews he said like the guitars were playing their thing, they were playing in 2 different melodies, 2 different time signatures, and 2 different like ranges, like 2 different keys and ranges of keys. But it was like the drums that were supposed to like unite all the like to make it somewhat like a song, so it's not so disjointed and discordant. Like even though it is like it brings it together to like in one unifying, I don't know, movement.
Is this Sugar and Spikes we're still talking about?
Well, just like the whole album, the drums were responsible for, But this is my favorite one. The addition of like the screaming behind the bridge, it makes the lyrics barely understandable. So it's like, but that's funny to me. It's like that seems like this whole thing. Like there is music, but it's like disguised or like but intentionally like muddled. And so he could have left that intact and it would have sounded completely like a song. But he's like, no, I'm gonna interfere with this a little bit. Number 20, Ant-Man B, reminded me of The Breeze by Leonard Skinner at first, like a fast-paced walking bass, southern rock blues, and then at face value, I didn't get into this song much. Like I listened to it and it was like, and that's kind of how like The Breeze is for me. Like you can listen to it and jam it going down the road. But it's like seemed like this song was about ants at war with each other and also with humanity. Like I don't know.
Sure.
And then like it talks about
one part of this song that I found funny that I thought of is this lyric, which is the chorus, which is, "Why do you have to do this? You've got to let us free," which is how I imagine most people react to this album.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I didn't quite get into this one, but it was listenable.
Yeah.
The hardest part for me with this, and like with like even some blues music and stuff, is like I really like lyrics. Like that's what I listen to, and I think we have talked about this with you before. Like
Sure.
I like music theory and I like getting into the instrumentation stuff, but like
I'm huge into lyrics.
But when I first listen to songs, like it's got to be the lyrics that draw me in, and a lot of like songs that have more of a focus on instruments, with just like passively singing, I don't super love.
Yeah,
that's what like Dire Straits is one of my favorite bands of all time, and I love to watch him play guitar live, like live concerts and stuff, and I hate listening to him sing live because he does not care about singing at all. Like the label is like, people aren't going to listen to just you playing guitar, so you got to write something. And so he would just be like barely like at the microphone. Half the time he like drifts away from it to playing guitar while he's still singing, because his love and passion is guitar. But he's like, yeah, I gotta sing a little bit too, I guess. But like his lyrics are great and profound, but he just like doesn't care about singing them. So yeah, it's like really, it's hard for me to love him. But that's kind of how it was with like Ant-Man B. Like it was not, the lyrics weren't drawing me in because his singing wasn't. He didn't like really care about it.
I also find it funny whenever you draw any comparison to any other band, like to this album.
Yeah,
when you're like, this is kind of like Bob Seger. I'm like, no,
it's
no,
like
not Skinner.
Not. No. All right. I want to go. I'll clarify. It does not musically remind me of any of these things. It is not like, oh, this is a riff that sounds like this song. I just mean like the story behind Main Street was just like, he's like walking downtown, he sees this lady dancing in the store, and he just like falls in love with her, and like never sees her, he like sees her walk out of the the club at the end, and like gets in her car, and he's just like fantasizes about her, and he's like, oh yeah, well, down on Main Street, like. And that's kind of what I feel like this tone of the Pachuco Cadaver was like, seeing this girl around town.
No, I got it.
I want to clarify for Bob Seger if he's listening.
Every time you're like, this is kind of like reminds me of Dire Straits, and I'm like, how? I'm like, okay.
Yeah. If you're listening to Bob Seger and Mark Knopfler, I love you so much, and I don't think that your music sounds like this. 21. In the short rows now. Orange Claw Hammer. This was another talk song, another spoken word song with no instruments, and it sounds like he's doing like a drunken sea chanty type thing. Oh, okay. I gotta go back to 16. Well, what I meant by like, it's not music, it's imperialistic marching sound. It sounds like what you'd sing when you're like, I don't know what I've been told, like that kind of thing. Like you're supposed to all chant in order to keep your rhythm marching. That's what well sounds like. Yeah. So 21, Orange Claw Hammer, spoken word, sounds like a drunken sea chanty. Also sounds
you're
like
saying sea chanty?
Yes.
It's sea shanty.
No, it is not. I double checked.
From everything I've ever heard, everybody said shanty.
I know. I looked it up. Well, there is, so, it's all three. It's all three, because a shanty is a shack, but it can be called sea shanty or chanty. Is a type of work song commonly sung to accompany labor on board a large merchant sailing vessel. Yeah. It's all three are valid. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Because I first wrote shanty, and then I did the smart lookup on my word processor, and it was like, shanty is a shack, commonly confused for chanty, and I was like, all right, I'll look this up. But yeah, no, they're all right. So I went with chanty, and I even did the EY chanty. So creative differences. I'm just trying to draw from Captain Beefheart.
This will end the podcast because it's unacceptable, but
the more you know. I'm pretty sure he's also making this one up because he messes up a lot and he still keeps going. Like one time he's like, this girl this baby, the girl had a baby walking down the street. Like, what? Why would you keep this? This, even like in terms of sound, reminds me of Over the Moon, performed by Maureen and Rent. Like, it's this weird avant-garde monologue. Man, that reminds me of this. And number 22, Wildlife. It's basically a blues track, vocals, but played over dissonant instrumentation, in which he rhymes life with life, the same word, a bunch. And wife. He just says like life and wife at the end of every sentence. Yeah, it was. I don't really like blues music a lot. I could see where like this would be a good blues song.
Sure,
but not my cuppa, you know.
Yeah.
23. She's Too Much for My Mirror. Not bad overall. It sounds like a song. It sounds like a cut track from the Ramones that was written when Joey Ramone was like 15, and they're like, you can't put this on your professional album now. Yeah, that's what it reminds me of.
It doesn't, but yeah.
What? How does it
not sound
it
like
totally
a
does.
fucking Ramones song in any way.
No, I said like that was cut. It was like written by him when he was 15, like before it was like polished and punk. This is like a predecessor. All right, hold on.
Maybe
Let
it's
me
a
qualify
prototype of.
Yeah.
Like...
All right. Here we go. I'll fix this. It sounds like Joey Ramone dreamed he was making a song at age 15, and this is what he would have produced in his brain.
Okay, that's fine. I'll take that.
There we go.
Like, even Joey, I
don't think the Ramones are good, so that's why I think I associate them together. I think they suck.
You're just like, what's it?
It's just like
band.
I was just trying to like take a dump on both of these. I don't like the Ramones. I want to like the Ramones because I love punk rock music, and people are like, this was like the original punk rock, and you listen to it and you're like, this is not good. It's not.
It's kind of boring.
It is so bad. I know, like, whatever, I'm gonna get hate for that one, but I don't care. 24, I hated this song. Hobo Chang Ba.
Oh yeah, that one's definitely one of the more abrasive ones.
By far the worst song on the album. Like most abrasive is a great way of putting it.
I disagree. One of the ones coming up I find more abrasive.
All right. Okay. All right. I'm interested to hear that because I have only good things to say about. All right. We won't get ahead of myself. This intentionally sung off key and flat and horrible. Like he's singing literally like he's tone deaf, and he's even doing like an accent or a weird voice too, and it's just like not bearable.
It seems like he's making fun of the album.
Yeah, yes.
He seems like the impression that I did earlier. Spot on.
if he was somebody else doing like a talk show interview, and they're like, "Hey, do you see the Captain Beefheart put out a new album?" and he was like, "Yeah, it sounds like this," and like sang this song. That's it's like he's like throwing off on that was good. 25, The Blimp.
Yeah, that one.
Mousetrap Replica. Yeah, the only thing I wrote on this one was, this is the rambling of a crazy person on a 1940s radio station. That's all this is.
But it's just horrible, abrasive voice.
It is bad. Yeah.
Like worse
yeah,
than...
it's like grating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it was grating in a way that I found, like, the rest of the album is very much abrasive, but this was grating in a way that I was like, I can't get past that, period, ever.
Yeah.
So, this is bad.
Yeah. That's all I wrote about it. So, like, this is crazy. This is just nonsense. And, like, yeah. So I'll give you that one. I think those two are the worst two songs on the album.
Sure.
Or, like, hardest to listen to.
Them right next to each
right
other.
there together. Yeah. The song took a sharp dip. Or the album. 26, Steal Softly Through Snow. Man, I wanted to like this song so much. Like, the title sounds like it's like a Robert Frost poem. dealing with like romanticism, because he does everything through snow, like stopping by the woods on a snowy evening and blah blah. I don't know, but
yeah,
I wanted to like this song, and
because your name's Robert Frost, come on, go to the beach.
This is gimmicky. And the lyrics, like reading the lyrics, was really nice, and pretty poetic. But like most of the album, it was just like listening to it was not so nice. Like, it had like if who has like a beautiful, if like Celine Dion did a cover of this song, it would be the most beautiful song ever written or something, you know?
If she changed the instrumentation very much.
Yeah. But like even and I just think even the tune of the melody of the lyrics might have been okay, but the man, the vocalization is not good. 27, Old Fart at Play. So the album started out with like a typical song structure, but then here at the end it's more like monologuing over music, like Kanye West at the end of his concerts when he just like auto-tunes.
I have an excerpt from the song right here.
Oh yeah.
Just the lyrics.
Oh yeah,
just a full part of lyrics.
All right, read it.
Mama licked her lips like a cat, pecked the ground like a rooster, pivoted like a duck. Her stockings down caught dust and dough balls. She cracked her mouth glaze, caught one eyelash, rubbed her hands on her gorgeous gingham. Her hands grasped sticky metal, intricate latchwork, open to the room. So, I just found it, and even that, it's like, that's not, I don't know, that strange, I guess, but in the context of, like, that's what I feel when I was like, I was gonna take more excerpts of songs and say them, but I'm like, when you just take the excerpt of the song, it's not that crazy, and even reading the lyrics, a lot of the times it's not that crazy, but for some reason, when you hear the lyrics in the song, like, just hearing it, you're like, it's just fucking like nonsense, period.
Yeah.
Like, the whole album is just nonsense.
It's,
but if you read the lyrics, they actually have some meaning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like a spell. It's like when you, like, do this incantation. When you put it to music, it becomes something else. I wrote this song that, like, it's almost... If you don't listen too closely, you'd think it's a song telling a story, because the lyrics like almost make sense. Like it almost says something.
Yeah.
I liken this to "The Ride" by David Allan Coe, where he's just like playing music but like singing somewhat he's like talking like somewhat in tune with like a little bit of a melody. But the words of this, like when you listen to it, is nonsensical. Like when you do like look at the lyrics themselves, it seems like it's more meaningful. And for this, I was like, I thought like there was like futuristic imagery juxtaposed against like old Western imagery. Like, I don't know, it's like something about a barrel in there. I'll pull up the lyrics. But then there's also the phrase of like this, something sounds like a sci-fi weapon. Let me pull it up again. I wasn't going to quote this one, but now I want to.
Laser beams.
Yeah.
The guy just told me to say that.
Laser beams. The guy told you to say that?
Yeah.
He says, also they use the phrase rainbow trout replica in this song.
Yeah, that's probably the, like, what they drew from the lyrics of this song.
Yeah. Well, I can't find it now, but yeah. Well. Oh well. Yeah, it was I don't know. It was weird, and it sounded like it was two different things. My interpretation of this, or like what my was like, It's like he was like tripping while watching the movie Aliens versus Cowboys, and like wrote this song like that. That's what it seemed like to me. Oh, okay. So yeah, he's I found it. He's the phrase from his perfume bottle atomizer air bulb invention. Like atomizer, that's like a futuristic type, you know? But then there's bulb again. But he's like, I don't know, it's air holes and yeah, it's weird. I tried to make sense of that one more, and I think there was nothing to make sense of. And then finally, the last song, 28, Veterans Day Poppy. This one sounded like this sounds like something that they would play on the radio.
Yeah, this was just a good song.
This was a good song. I guess it wasn't my favorite song on the album.
The end of the song is an instrumental. For a long time, so they wouldn't play. They would not play it.
Yeah. Like it resembled a song in terms of like normal accepted structure. The words were decipherable, and the lyrics were like anti-war. So like this definitely was like a 60s song. Like they would have played this at like a benefit concert, you know, or like
sure.
Yeah. This was very much a good song. Most normal, most listenable, or
I agree that it's probably the most listenable song on the album.
Yeah. I still think Sugar and Spikes is my favorite, and I'll give Moonlight on Vermont another chance. And then I'm gonna
that's even my favorite. It's
so
very
good,
recognizable.
Yeah, and it's like universally agreed that it's a pretty good song. But I think I'm gonna try to make myself listen to Steal Softly Through Snow more, because I feel like the lyrics of that are so beautiful. I want to like it.
Yeah.
It's very poetic. Yeah. Overall, this album was. If you took like the 12-minute drum solo from a Led Zeppelin concert and the trippy lyrics of a Beatles song and forced them to have a child with an out-of-tune guitar while brass instruments were slowly crushed to death in the background, it would produce this album.
I think that's a great description.
I found a review from the New York Times that said Beefheart's voice makes Tom Waits sound like Julie Andrews. And that made me laugh out loud. It's Tom Waits. If you don't know, he sings like this. It's pretty not enjoyable. But overall, like, so that was my raw impression listening to it. And when I looked up some stuff about it, it came up with the words polyrhythmic and polytonal. So it's polyrhythmic. These instruments are playing at different time signatures. So there's different beats. So like one of the examples, like, all right, you try to keep like a 3/4 beat in one hand and like a 5/7 in the seventh in the other hand. It's chaos. And all the guitars are playing polytonally in different keys, and they like move into other keys that are never the same. And like, it's the song, you're constantly changing keys and changing tempos and changing time signatures, and and then like you said, composed every song on the piano, and he had no idea how to play piano. The whole thing sounds super improvised, like a horrible jam session, but it was very diligently composed and rehearsed and recorded. So final thoughts on this album, this endeavor. Something that I heard about, or I heard, was a comparison between trained art versus naive art. So they said you have like all these trained artists who like learn the history of these techniques and like how to implement them and why it's important and what it means when you do. And it takes this really long time, and you make something like very intentional, and it's like very, it might be beautiful, and there's like a history and meaning behind everything that went into it. With like an educated meaning, I guess. And then there's naive art, which is just like, can still be beautiful, but it's like you loved something. I mean, it might not always be beautiful, but it's like something meant so much to you, and you loved it so much that there was something inside you that you had such a compulsion to produce it and make it. Like, you had to do it in order to like feel relief almost. And so with that in mind, my first impression of listening to this was like, I don't like this. Like, it's not good. Like, it's objectively not good. But then as I started like finding out more about it and like listening to more of it and like learning about like I was like, okay, no, there's like some depth here. Like there's some nuggets of goodness here. And then I read about how he like doesn't know any rhythms or time signatures, and I was like, oh, this was all accidental. He didn't even know what he was doing. I don't like this again. But then I was like, no, and also he's a jerk. But also I was like, but no, he's like, he did all these things in different keys, and like he knew, even listening to it, even if he didn't know what he was playing, he knew it didn't sound good together, but it was very deliberate and intentional. I was like, okay, so I like this again. And then I read about how like it's such an inspiration, and most people, like artists and musicians, cite it as being genius. And I'm like, no, I don't like, no. No. I don't like that. I don't like it. I feel like that's pretentious.
The instinct is like, you're full of shit.
That is, yeah, exactly. Like, you can listen to it and be like, this is horrible. But there's like, there's reason and precision, and there's intentional and purpose behind it. But it does not sound good. But like there's a reason for that. Like, it's not meant to sound good. It's meant to be different. And like, and so like, I like it overall because of that. But when people are like, oh yeah, I love it, it's beautiful, you're like, no, you shut your mouth. You're lying right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was an endeavor. I think like, someone was like, oh, he was like breaking all the rules. I really love it. It's edgy. And then somebody else was like, he didn't even know the rules because he doesn't know any musical compositional theory. So like, he's just producing. He just had like a love for it. So that's what brings me back to liking it. It's like, whether or not it's good or bad, he was like, had a compulsion to make it.
Yeah.
And he wrote what was true to his heart.
Sure.
And so I do like that. Like, he wasn't just like thinking about, people are gonna like this or not. Is it gonna be a number one bestseller? Like, when he got signed for this project, because he had collaborated with Frank Zappa on something, I think. And then when he got signed, he had a full creative license to produce whatever he wanted for his first, and then that's what he did. And I do like that about it. Like, I like the concept of this album. Yeah.
It's upon this last listen, I was like, this is like a good, like, it's a piece in itself, and you won't hear anything particularly like it. Even stuff that
if you're fortunate,
influenced is not quite what this is.
Right. Nothing's derivative of this.
Like, it doesn't feel like, the White Stripes had a EP in which they covered 4 of the songs.
Oh, wow.
Or not 4 directly from the same.
Right.
They covered China Pig. But yeah, there are tons of artists that were inspired by this, and probably just because, like, there's depth to it and whatever, but I think it is, a part of it is, like, you can be experimental basically,
Yeah.
with your art.
Yeah.
And be, truthful to yourself type of thing.
Yeah.
While not abiding by traditional rules kind of thing.
Yeah. And I like that there was success here. Like that this is celebrated for being what that is. And that's why I don't like it.
It wasn't like a wild financial success at the time.
Oh, yeah. But... No. But I mean, like, now, like, it's, like, people regard it positively.
Yeah.
Especially, like, big name people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I mean, it's got, like, a cult following now, but, yeah, I can imagine this was not very successful for a while. And... yeah, so that's why I feel like it like belittles it or like it cheapens it when people like try to say that it's like describe it as like beautiful or like or that because it's or like or like I don't want to say good, but yeah, it's like that's not what he was trying to do, and if that's what you think, you're missing the point. Like I don't think for 1 second he was like people are gonna love this, they're gonna fall asleep to it and sing it as lullabies to their baby. And so I think, like, to treat it that way cheapens what he was doing. I mean, that's just my opinion. But
you could even call it beautiful, but it's just not in the way.
Right, not in the way that...
It's not a listenable album.
Right.
Like, for most people that say, like, I love the album, it just feels like you should have to have an explanation behind that.
Yeah, you can be like, this song was like, this was very abrasive and, like, hard to listen to, but it was a good album. Like... you have to qualify it. No one loves everything about this.
I found it funny, one just note that was on the Wikipedia that was just kind of a non sequitur is that this is David Lynch has said this is his favorite album. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Of course it is. This was a wild ride, and it was so long. It was 80 minutes, but like it was so many tracks. Like the longest track was only 5 minutes, and most of them were like 2 to 3 minutes, if that. Like there were some short ones.
Yeah, I'm glad that they were shorter songs. It makes, even though it is a long album, it does make it feel less long.
Yeah. So, it was. I don't like it. It was good. I have positive things to say about the experience of diving into this and consuming this media.
Yeah, like I said, I'm glad you got into it. All I was expecting from you is to listen to it and have something to say at all.
Yeah.
I was not expecting you to delve deeply into anything.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to qualify that because like I know that was not the expectation, and I'm not trying to set a precedent. Like there's an album that I want you to listen to if I were to ever win. I don't expect you to do this. And I even like listen to that album again, and I was like, I don't even know how you would do it. But it's just because it's just like garbage, and you're like, all right, listen to this, and it was trash. It was real weird. Like, yeah, great.
Yeah.
But like, I just got I don't expect for everything like this to go an hour and a half and go super in depth to it. But yeah, it was fun for me to do this, and
yeah. Great. So that's our show for this week.
Yeah.
I mean, we could just release this like tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm fine with that.
Or not even. I mean, we could release this in the slot of an episode, I feel.
Yeah.
Like rather than, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we'll see.
We'll see where this goes.
Yeah. But anyway, that's our show. Tune in next week for our regular versus episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, you owe it to yourself to listen to this. Like, have this on. It's like at some point in your life, you need to listen to this whole album.
Yeah, I mean, just check it. Just see like what the fuck we're talking about.
Yeah, you'll get it.
So that's our show, and we'll see you on the next one.